The ancient computer had stood underwater motionless for thousands of years. When it was first discovered in the early 19th century, people mistook it for a dull piece of metal and wood. But once examined, it completely changed what we thought we knew about the ancient Greeks and their knowledge of astronomy. The object became known as the Antikythera mechanism. Is it really a computer? That depends on how you define one. The first mechanical calculating machine was built in 1822 and could only perform simple arithmetic. The Antikythera mechanism, though, had no keyboard or screen. It was made of 3 bronze plates, filled with intricate gears, much like those inside a clock, and a circular ring marked with degrees like a protractor. Nothing else like it has ever been found from that time. To truly understand it, scientists first had to invent X-ray technology. Through that, they discovered the device was likely used to track the movements of stars and planets. Inside its wooden frame were many tiny gears, not for keeping time, but for predicting astronomical events. By turning a handle, users could see the positions of the sun, moon, and planets at any given time. One of the great mysteries involves its planetary indicators. Today we know that planets move because they orbit the sun, but in ancient Greece, most people didn't believe that. While some philosophers proposed that the sun was at the center of the universe, their ideas were not widely accepted. After all, if the Earth moved, why didn't people feel it? Parts of the Antikythera mechanism still lie on the seabed, and others may be lost forever, meaning we may never know its full purpose. As for the first battery, history tells us it was invented around the early 19th century. It consisted of alternating layers of copper and zinc, separated by cloth soaked in a conductive liquid. However, some archaeologists claim that the so-called Baghdad battery existed thousands of years earlier. At first glance, the Baghdad battery looks like an ordinary clay pot. What makes it special is its internal design, a copper cylinder surrounding an iron rod that passed through the lid. The archaeologist who found it didn't leave detailed notes, but most agree it was discovered near modern-day Baghdad, possibly dating back more than 2,000 years. Even the most conservative estimates place it about 1,400 years old, still far older than any modern battery. No written records explain what it was used for, so its purpose remains uncertain. The battery theory comes from the presence of 2 metals with different electrical potentials, as well as traces of an acidic substance, possibly vinegar, inside the pot. Tests suggest the device could have produced about 1 volt of electricity. But since ancient civilizations had no electronics, what could they have used it for? Some believe it was used for medical purposes, as ancient Greeks once used electric fish to relieve pain. Others think it powered religious statues, creating buzzing or glowing effects to impress worshippers. There's also a theory that it was used for gilding, electroplating one metal onto another, a technique known to ancient jewelers. Another possibility is that it wasn't a battery at all, but rather a simple container for scrolls, with the iron rod serving as a core for rolled parchment. In another part of the world, a small coin also challenged history. In 1957, an amateur archaeologist in the state of Maine found what he thought was an Old English coin from the early 10th century. Decades later, experts realized it wasn't English at all. It was a Norwegian penny from the late 10th century. How a Viking coin ended up in Maine remains a mystery. Some think it passed through trade routes, while others believe it may be evidence of a Viking settlement in North America. Skeptics, however, suspect a hoax, noting that the finder had access to similar coins during a period when Viking-related fakes were common. Even so, the idea of Vikings reaching America isn't far-fetched. Icelandic sagas have told of such voyages for centuries, and archaeological discoveries in Newfoundland have made the theory much more credible. Still, the coin's authenticity remains unconfirmed. In Texas, the town of Rockwall is famous for its live music and small-town charm, but it also hides a geological mystery beneath its surface. Beneath the town lies a massive formation of hard mineral rock stacked in a way that resembles a giant stone wall. For more than 150 years, people have debated whether it was built by ancient humans or formed naturally over millions of years. Geologists studying the formation concluded that it's likely a natural sandstone structure formed by sedimentation and pressure. Yet local legends tell of steps, arches, and even tunnels within the rocks. Old newspaper stories and eyewitness accounts describe strange symbols and embedded metal objects. While science suggests it's simply a natural creation, many still believe there's more to the story, an ancient mystery carved in stone that continues to spark curiosity and wonder. As for the metal objects found in the rock, most scientists believe they are simply clusters of iron-rich minerals. This doesn't mean they were placed there by ancient people. Whether the rock wall formation was shaped by human hands or natural geological forces, it remains a significant part of the city's identity and mystery. Ladies and gentlemen, today we witness a historic event, an exhibition of the world's largest and most powerful machines ever created. Prepare to see the biggest, strongest, and most astonishing inventions of humankind. Let's begin with something truly legendary, the robot dragon. Yes, a real green, fire-breathing machine. Stretching 15 meters long and weighing 11 tons, this massive creature took 3 years to design and was completed in July 2010. Though it looks ready to conquer medieval castles, its true purpose is far more peaceful. It was built to play the role of the dragon in a German theatre performance. Appropriately named Tradino, combining tradition and innovation, it's a marvel of mechanical artistry. And what does a dragon usually do in fairy tales? Capture a princess, of course. But this time the princess is far from ordinary. The Princess of Liverpool is not human, but a multi-ton mechanical spider. Created in 2008 when Liverpool was named the European Capital of Culture, it was designed by a French company famous for building massive art installations. Just a year earlier, the same team had built a gigantic mechanical elephant capable of carrying 49 passengers. But with the spider, they truly surpassed themselves, an arachnophobe's worst nightmare brought to life. In the world of heavy machinery, the Belaise 75710 stands as an absolute titan. Built in Belarus, this monster dump truck is taller than 5 people and has wheels higher than a person. It weighs 360 tons and can carry cargo equal to the weight of 4 blue whales. Belaise is officially recognized as both the heaviest and the most powerful transport vehicle ever made. Of course, such a massive truck needs an equally powerful loader to fill it up. That's where the Letourneau L2350 comes in. Its total length is about that of a bowling lane, and its height surpasses that of a giraffe. It can lift over 70 tons of earth in a single scoop. Together, the Belaise and Letourneau would make the perfect industrial duo when it comes to digging. Nothing surpasses the might of the Liebherr R9800. One of the largest mining excavators in the world. Weighing over 800 tons, roughly the weight of an entire herd of elephants, it can easily fit a dozen people in its bucket. Fill it with hot water and you'd have a giant outdoor bath. Yet even that pales in comparison to the Bagger 293, built in 1995 and still operating in Germany's mines today. It holds the Guinness World Record as the largest land vehicle on the planet, stretching the length of 2 football fields and standing as tall as 1. Several other similar models were later built, but none could match its power or sheer presence. Germany seems to have a taste for massive engineering. Another example is the F60 overburden conveyor bridge, a gigantic machine made up of 5 linked structures built between 1969 and 1991. Often called the Lying Eiffel Tower, it's the longest mobile machine in the world, designed to transport layers of rock above coal seams. If you combined the weight of the Statue of Liberty into one machine, you'd have NASA's crawler transporter, one of 2 colossal tracked vehicles used to carry rockets and space shuttles to their launch pads. For over 50 years, these giants have transported spacecraft at a steady speed of 1.6 kilometers per hour. No other vehicle on Earth can carry such enormous loads. Speaking of things that fly, consider the Antonov An-225 Mriya, the largest cargo aircraft ever built. With a wingspan of 90 meters, about the same as the height of Big Ben, it first took flight in 1988 and could carry more weight than any other airplane. Though larger aircraft now exist, none have surpassed it in cargo capacity. Then there's the Strato launch, another record-breaking aircraft. With wings wider than a football field, it was designed to carry and launch spacecraft into orbit directly from the air. The brainchild of Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen, this massive plane runs on Boeing 747 engines and can take off and land on a regular runway, despite its staggering size. Next comes a truly unique machine, the world's largest motorcycle. Built by Fabio Reggiani in 2012, this towering bike stands nearly 5 meters tall, so large that the handlebars seem purely decorative. To qualify as a real motorcycle, it had to travel at least 100 meters with a rider on board, and it did. No one before had ever built anything like it. Now meet Bertha, one of the largest tunnel-boring machines ever made. Standing as tall as a 5-story building and weighing 7,000 tons. It was built to dig a massive tunnel beneath Seattle, Washington, designed to carry 4 lanes of traffic. From underground, we move to the open sea, where we find the largest ship ever constructed by humans, the Prelude FLNG. Imagine the twin Petronas Towers in Malaysia. Next to Prelude's towering structure, they'd look like small houses. Built by a South Korean company over 5 years, this floating liquefied natural gas facility weighs a staggering 800,000 tons when loaded. It's astonishing that it can stay afloat at all. Before Prelude, the title of the largest ship belonged to the Seawise Giant. Built in 1979, at about 460 meters long, it was large enough to fit the Petronas Towers on its deck. For more than a decade, it held the record as the biggest ship in the world, second in size only to the F-60 conveyor bridge. These colossal creations, whether made for mining, flight, sea travel, or art, show how far human imagination and engineering can go. From fire-breathing dragons to mountain-sized machines, they prove that when it comes to invention, there are truly no limits. Years passed before the completion of the F-60. And now it's time to turn our gaze toward the stars and admire their beauty. Helping us do so is the largest radio telescope on the planet, FAST, located in southern China. Officially completed and put into operation in late 2019, FAST has already amazed astronomers around the world. It is one of the most sensitive scientific instruments ever built, capable of detecting even the faintest signals from the depths of the universe. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to meet the undisputed world champion, the Large Hadron Collider, the greatest machine ever created by humankind. It will likely retain that title for many years to come. The collider's main purpose is to accelerate charged particles to extraordinary speeds and collide them for high-energy physics experiments. Located about 180 meters underground, it forms a vast circular tunnel stretching 27 kilometers in circumference, more than twice the depth of the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench. Walking the entire tunnel would take nearly a full day, though it's certainly not meant for strolling. Inside, atomic particles race at nearly the speed of light, so you'd better keep your head down. In 1936, British Egyptologist Walter Bryan Emery made a strange discovery in the Egyptian desert. A small disk about 60 centimeters in diameter and 10 centimeters high. The object sparked debate about whether it was a model of a flying saucer or even a component of an ancient machine from a lost civilization. Emery spent many years excavating along the Nile, particularly in the vast necropolis of Saqqara, unearthing countless treasures. Yet the most puzzling find came from the tomb of a high-ranking official named Sabu. Historians are unsure who Sabu was. Some believe he was the son of a king, given that his burial in Saqqara signified noble status. His tomb contained 7 chambers filled with typical burial goods, pottery, ivory objects, flint tools, and animal remains. But among these items was an artifact unlike any other, the Sabu disc. The disc looks like a shallow bowl with three elegantly curved lobes spaced evenly around its perimeter. Each lobe is separated by small holes, and in the center is a narrow tubular shaft. The disc was carved from schist, a fragile and flaky rock that crumbles easily under pressure. How ancient craftsmen managed to shape it around 3000 BC using only simple stone and copper tools remains a mystery. The true purpose of the Sabu disc is unknown. Early archaeologists thought it was a vase or a ceremonial object, but modern researchers with engineering backgrounds proposed that it might have been a component of a mechanical device. A 3D printed replica of the disc revealed that when placed in a housing and rotated, it functioned like an impeller, a part of a centrifugal pump capable of moving water efficiently. The curved blades and concave shape weren't decorative, they were functional. This discovery led to speculation that ancient Egyptian engineers may have experimented with advanced irrigation systems thousands of years earlier than previously thought. Others argue that schist is too weak for such a purpose, suggesting instead that the artifact was a stone replica of something originally made from metal, possibly a remnant of a much older, advanced civilization. Alternative theories range from imaginative to wild. Some suggest it was a model of a flying saucer or a hyperdrive component from an alien spacecraft. Others think it was part of a factory mechanism inside the pyramids, or even a tool for rope weaving, where the lobes held strands of fiber twisted into twine. A few have even speculated that it might have been a giant lamp. The truth remains unknown. Another great historical enigma is the Piri Reis map. Drawn in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis, it is one of the oldest surviving world maps depicting both North and South America. Although Reis never traveled across the ocean, he compiled the map using around 20 regional maps, including Arabic and Portuguese charts of India, China, and the Americas. He also claimed to have used a lost map by Christopher Columbus. This makes the Piri Reis map an invaluable clue to what Columbus's original work might have looked like. Historian Charles Hapgood once suggested that the map depicted Antarctica as it would have appeared without ice, implying that ancient civilizations might have mapped it thousands of years earlier. However, this claim was later disproven. Equally fascinating are the Klerksdorp spheres, mysterious metallic or stone balls discovered in South Africa's pyrophyllite mines. Some have perfectly symmetrical grooves around their centers. In the 1980s, stories spread that these were relics of a pre-human, technologically advanced civilization. Journalists even reported that one sphere rotated by itself in a museum case, and psychics claimed they were parts of an ancient spacecraft. Geologists, however, explain the phenomenon simply. The spheres are natural formations created by the accumulation of minerals over millions of years. The grooves are the result of natural layering and compression. The supposed self-rotation was likely caused by slight vibrations from nearby gold mining operations. In China, strange Baigong pipes have also puzzled scientists. Found near Mount Baigong and Lake Tosan, they resemble ancient metal tubes embedded in rock. Some believed they were remnants of alien technology. Tests revealed they contain mostly natural minerals, but also about 8% unidentified material. Later research suggested that these structures were likely fossilized tree roots, preserved through natural mineralization over eons. Another mysterious artifact is the Iud aluminum wedge, unearthed in Romania near the bones of a mastodon, an ancient relative of the elephant that lived over 11,000 years ago. The wedge appears to be made of aluminum, a metal that humans only learned to produce in the 19th century. Since smelting aluminum requires extremely high temperatures, the artifact challenges conventional history. Covered with a thick oxide layer, it seems to have aged for centuries, leaving scientists to wonder whether it's an ancient relic, a modern contaminant, or something else entirely. Across the ages, These discoveries, from the Antikythera mechanism and Baghdad battery to the Sabu disc and Ayud wedge, remind us how much of our past remains hidden. Each mysterious artifact tells a story, blurring the line between myth and science, and reminding us that the ancient world may have been far more advanced than we ever imagined. Some believe that the mysterious aluminum wedge discovered in Romania may have fallen from an alien spacecraft. Others think it's simply a hoax, while some scientists argue it might be a man-made object created for a purpose we no longer understand. In February 1961, 3 rock collectors near Olancha, California, stumbled upon another strange mystery. While searching for geodes, they found one that looked unusually symmetrical and decided to cut it open. Inside, instead of crystals or minerals, they discovered a porcelain-like cylinder with a metal core surrounded by a hexagonal copper shell. The finders believed they had uncovered an ancient technological artifact, perhaps 500,000 years old, suggesting the existence of a forgotten civilization like Atlantis, or even evidence of time travel or extraterrestrial visitors. The discovery became known as the Koso artifact, and for decades it fascinated alternative historians and pseudo-archaeologists. But by the late 1990s, skeptics decided to investigate. After taking detailed X-rays and photographs, they showed the object to spark plug collectors, who quickly identified it as a champion spark plug from the 1920s. Later testing at the University of Washington confirmed the identification. The surrounding stone was simply concretion, a natural buildup of sediment and minerals that can harden around objects within a few decades. Far from being a 500,000-year-old relic, the Koso artifact was an ordinary piece of automotive history mistaken for proof of ancient technology. Objects like this are known as out-of-place artifacts, finds that appear too modern or advanced for their supposed age or location. Many, such as the Baghdad battery, fall into this category. Discovered in the 1930s, it consisted of a clay jar with a copper cylinder and an iron rod sealed with asphalt. When modern scientists tested replicas filled with vinegar or wine, the device produced a weak electric current, suggesting it might have functioned as a primitive battery. Some believe it was used in early medical treatments, or to give religious statues the illusion of life through faint buzzing or electric effects. Archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig, who discovered it, theorized it could have been used for electroplating metals. Still, it would have produced only about 1 volt, leading others to think it was merely a container for sacred scrolls. In the 1930s, hikers exploring Red Creek near London, Texas, found another curiosity, a piece of wood embedded in what appeared to be ancient rock. A decade later, their son split it open and discovered a modern hammer inside. Young Earth creationist Carl Bohr claimed it was evidence that humans lived during the time of dinosaurs, since he believed the rock dated to the Cretaceous period. However, geologists later proved that the surrounding material was not ancient bedrock, but a recent concretion. The hammer itself was likely dropped by a miner a few centuries ago and naturally encased over time. Another mysterious tale comes from China, where a group of archaeologists allegedly uncovered caves containing small skeletons with large oval heads. Nearby petroglyphs depicted beings in round helmets surrounded by images of the sun, moon, and stars. More than 700 stone discs with spiral grooves were also found. When a Chinese professor examined them, he claimed the grooves were actually writing that told the story of extraterrestrial visitors called the Dropa, who had crash-landed on Earth around 12,000 years ago. According to the supposed translation, these visitors lived among humans until hostility forced them into hiding. However, no verifiable records of these discoveries exist. The archaeologists, the professor, and even the university involved have no traceable documentation, and the so-called Dropper stones themselves have never been confirmed to exist. Although Drogpa is the name of a real ethnic group in Tibet, there's no evidence linking them to alien origins. The entire story appears to have been fabricated in the 1960s and circulated through sensational magazine articles. The Baigong pipes of China are another puzzling case. Found near Mount Baigong and Lake Tosan in 1996, they resembled corroded metal tubes embedded in rock. Some believed they were remnants of alien construction, but tests revealed they were made mostly of common minerals, with about 8% of unknown material likely caused by contamination. Later research suggested the pipes were actually fossilized tree roots or natural sedimentary formations, not technology from another world. In Mexico, archaeologists unearthed a terracotta head in the 1930s that appeared distinctly Roman in style, discovered inside a burial site about 40 miles from Mexico City. The artifact was found with gold, copper, and ceramic items. If genuine, it could imply that Romans, or some other Mediterranean civilization, reached the Americas long before Columbus. Some theories suggest it might have washed ashore from a shipwreck, while others believe it was brought later as a souvenir by Vikings or explorers. Yet there is no solid archaeological evidence of contact between Mesoamericans and Europeans before the late 15th century. The true origin of the mysterious head remains unknown. Returning to Romania, the Iud aluminum wedge continues to intrigue researchers. Found near the fossilized bones of a mastodon, it appears to be made of nearly pure aluminum, a metal that humans only learned to extract in the 19th century. The wedge is coated with a thick layer of oxide, indicating great age, though exactly how old remains unclear. Some believe it's evidence of ancient advanced technology or alien influence. Others suspect it's simply a misplaced modern object that became embedded. In older soil layers, ancient Indian texts also describe extraordinary flying machines known as vimanas, magnificent chariots and palaces capable of soaring through the sky and even traveling into space. The Vedas describe various models, some used for domestic travel, others for interplanetary journeys. One was said to reach the moon, another could become invisible, and yet another shone like the sun and thundered like a storm. Built with unknown engines and powered by winds generated by Mercury, vimanas were said to be indestructible and able to repel any attack. Whether these accounts describe myth, lost technology, or imaginative allegory remains uncertain. But stories like these, of alien visitors, forgotten empires, and impossible machines, continue to remind us how much mystery still surrounds humanity's distant past. Flying an ancient Indian vimana apparently required as much skill and knowledge as piloting a modern aircraft. Texts mention 32 essential secrets that every pilot had to master. These covered everything from the structure of the aircraft to techniques for safe takeoff, navigation, and maneuvering. Pilots were trained to control visibility, manage speed, and even manipulate atmospheric layers for stealth and power. One strange instruction advised moving to the 8th layer of the atmosphere and using the dark rays of the sun to stay hidden from enemies. An idea that sounds mystical today, yet some parts of the ancient instructions still align with principles found in modern aeronautical science. Ancient Indian texts on vimanas also contained remarkable technical detail. They described flight paths, pilot training, navigation systems, suitable clothing, and even recommended foods for long journeys. There were also discussions of metals with specific melting points and heat-absorbing properties. Supporters of the theory that vimanas were real argue that such precise engineering details would hardly appear in mere myth. These flying palaces, they believe, might have been real, technological marvels far ahead of their time, much like many other Indian inventions. As early as the 6th century BCE, the physician Sushruta compiled one of the world's first comprehensive texts on medicine and surgery. Often called the father of surgery, he described hundreds of medicinal plants and detailed complex operations, including rhinoplasty, nose reconstruction, and skin grafting. His surgical techniques were groundbreaking. In fact, the nasal reconstruction method he described, using a flap of skin from another part of the body, is still practiced today. In ancient times, such operations were not for beauty, but for restoring dignity to those who had lost their noses in battle or as punishment. The mathematician Aryabhata, who lived in the 5th century CE, gave the world the concept of zero, a seemingly simple invention that revolutionized mathematics and laid the foundation for binary code and computers. Before that, civilizations had no symbol to represent nothing. The oldest known zero is carved on the wall of a temple in Gwalior, India. The people of the Indus Valley civilization were equally remarkable for their precision and innovation. Around 1500 BCE, they used ivory rulers marked with incredibly accurate measurements, divided into units as small as 2.5 centimeters, with submarkings accurate to 5/1000ths. They also pioneered standardization, introducing uniform systems of weights and measures that supported fair trade. Using decimal and binary principles, merchants weighed everything from grain to gold, achieving astonishing consistency without advanced technology. Their methods later influenced systems as far away as Persia and Central Asia. If you practice yoga, you're continuing a 5,000-year-old Indian tradition. It first appeared in the Vedas and was refined through centuries of study and practice. Around the 2nd century BCE, the sage Patanjali codified yoga in his Yoga Sutras, turning it into a complete discipline of physical, mental, and spiritual balance. What began as a path to enlightenment eventually became a global practice that enhances well-being and longevity. Yoga reached the Western world in the 19th century and quickly gained worldwide popularity. Another Indian gift to humanity is chess, derived from the ancient game Chaturanga, which emerged around the 6th century CE. The early version was played by 4 players on a 64-square board, using dice and pieces representing soldiers, kings, elephants, and horses. Over time, the game evolved into the 2-player strategy game we know today. According to legend, it was invented by the wife of Ravana, a mythical villain, to entertain him during war. Even the word shampoo has Indian origins. It comes from the Hindi word shampoo, meaning to press or massage. The practice began in 1762 with scalp massages using herbal oils and natural extracts. British traders adopted the custom and brought it to England, where it evolved into the liquid hair cleanser we use today. Unlike the Greeks, who relied on animal skins for clothing, Indians began cultivating cotton as early as the 5th century BCE. They spun fine cotton threads into textiles that became prized across the Mediterranean. India also gave the world jute, wool, and the luxurious cashmere, originally from the region of Kashmir. Even buttons originated there. 5,000 years ago, artisans of the Indus Valley carved geometric shapes with small holes out of seashells. Initially decorative, they later became functional fasteners for garments. In modern technology, Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose stands as an unsung pioneer of radio science. In 1895, he demonstrated the first use of radio waves by transmitting a signal through walls, ringing a bell, and igniting gunpowder from 22 meters away, 2 years before Marconi's famous experiments. Unfortunately, Bose never patented his invention, so his contributions were recognized only long after his death. On October 30, 1759, the Middle East was struck by a devastating earthquake. Walls cracked, roofs collapsed, and terrified residents fled into the open. Just a month later, a stronger quake followed, shaking the ground for 2 full minutes. Cities, oases, and roads were destroyed, but incredibly, the ancient structures of Baalbek in Lebanon survived almost unharmed. Their endurance remains a testament to the extraordinary engineering skills of ancient builders. Historians claim that the magnificent ruins of Baalbek in Lebanon were built during the Roman Empire, yet many researchers disagree. Regardless of its true origin, Baalbek remains one of the most astonishing archaeological sites on Earth. The most striking structure there is the Temple of Jupiter. The Romans dedicated it to their god of thunder and built it on a massive platform surrounded by 50 columns, each towering nearly 20 meters high. Today, only 6 remain standing. Each column consists of 3 gigantic stone sections, reinforced with a core of lead for strength. Every segment weighs about 80 tons, the equivalent of 35 SUVs. Even the largest block in Egypt's Great Pyramid cannot compare. The temple's foundation is even more remarkable. It contains 25 monolithic stones, each weighing about 450 tons. Beneath these lie 3 colossal limestone blocks weighing 800 tons apiece, more than twice the mass of a Boeing 747. How ancient builders managed to carve, transport, and lift such stones remains one of history's great mysteries. Modern construction equipment would struggle with such a task. Yet the builders of Baalbek accomplished it without cranes, engines, or electricity. Archaeologists believe the stones were quarried about 900 meters from the temple complex. In that quarry lies an unfinished limestone block called the Stone of the South, measuring 20 meters long and 4 meters wide. With an estimated weight exceeding 1,000 tons, roughly equal to 3 Boeing jets or 160 elephants. Later, researchers discovered an even larger block, weighing 1,200 tons. Then in 2014, German archaeologists uncovered a third monolith, weighing an unbelievable 1,750 tons, the largest known carved stone in human history. Why the ancients shaped such massive blocks and how they intended to move them is still a mystery. Some speculate that lost technologies or unknown techniques were involved, while others simply admire the ingenuity of early engineers. Similar mysteries can be found elsewhere. Near the Pyramid of Djoser in Egypt lies the Serapeum of Saqqara, a network of underground tunnels containing 24 massive sarcophagi carved from solid granite. Each weighs between 70 and 100 tons and is polished so smoothly it feels like glass. Even with today's precision tools, crafting such perfect symmetry would be difficult. Yet ancient Egyptian artisans achieved it thousands of years ago. Another artifact that continues to puzzle scientists is the Lycurgus cup, a Roman glass masterpiece that demonstrates what we now call nanotechnology. Depending on the direction of light, the cup changes color, glowing green when lit from the front and deep red when lit from behind. Only under modern microscopes did scientists discover the reason. The glass contains nanoparticles of gold, silver, and copper carefully mixed into the material. This couldn't have been accidental. Ancient craftsmen clearly understood how to manipulate matter on an astonishingly fine scale. In Bolivia stands the ancient site of Pumapunku, a place so strange that it looks as if a giant had scattered enormous stone blocks like toys. The stones, some weighing up to 100 tons, were carved with perfect precision. Wood died 500 years ago and transported from quarries nearly 100 kilometers away, despite the site being nearly 4,000 meters above sea, level and devoid of trees to use as rollers. The builders, ancestors of the Incas, are not believed to have known the wheel, yet they constructed one of the most sophisticated megalithic structures in the world. In 1992, villagers in China made another breathtaking discovery. After draining a pond used for generations, they found the entrance to a massive man-made cavern, now known as the Longyu Caves. Extending 30 meters below ground, the complex covers more than 30,000 square meters and contains halls, bridges, pools, and supporting columns, all intricately carved with patterns. No records exist of who built them, when, or why, and the methods used to remove such vast amounts of stone remain unknown. The Italian craftsman Antonio Stradivari, who lived in the 17th and 18th centuries, created violins so exceptional that they remain unmatched today. Over 600 of his instruments survive, and one sold for $16 million. The Stradivarius violins are famed for their pure, resonant tone. Scientists have long tried to uncover the secret. Perhaps it lies in the varnish he used, or the wood itself, which grew during Europe's unusually cold climate. making it denser and more acoustically rich. In Delhi, a 7-meter-high iron pillar stands as another marvel of ancient technology. Made of 98% pure iron and weighing 6.5 tons, it has resisted rust for more than 2,500 years. Scientists attribute its preservation to India's dry climate and the unique composition of the metal. Yet no one knows exactly how ancient blacksmiths achieved such corrosion resistance, a challenge even for modern metallurgy. And in the Arabian desert, at Al-Nasla, there stands a massive rock split perfectly in two. Each half is balanced delicately on small pedestals, as if cut by a laser. While some claim it's evidence of forgotten high technology, geologists believe the split is the result of a natural fracture, a reminder that sometimes nature itself can outdo human precision. Across the world, from the temples of Baalbek to the caverns of China, from Egypt's smooth granite tombs to Bolivia's carved altars, the ancient world continues to defy explanation. Each mystery stone, artifact, and monument tells the same story, that the people of the past may have understood far more than we ever imagined. Geologists think the split at El Nasla likely formed through soil movement or natural vibrations that opened a small crack. Over thousands of years it deepened, and the rock gradually assumed the dramatic shape we see today. Most people know the pyramids were monumental, tombs meant to ease a pharaoh's passage to the afterlife, the Great Pyramid for Khufu being the best-known example. Fewer realize the entire pyramid tradition began with Djoser's Step Pyramid about 4,700 years ago. Built for the third dynasty king, it rises in 6 tiers to roughly 60 meters. We admire it as a masterpiece, but for ancient Egyptians, it was also a large-scale experiment, a rehearsal before even more ambitious projects. The real puzzle, though, lies underground. Beneath the monument stretches a labyrinth of tunnels more than 5.5 kilometers long. Some researchers suspect these passages were part of a sophisticated water system, an idea that could reshape how we think the pyramids were built. Surrounding the pyramid is a so-called dry moat, a continuous trench up to 50 meters wide and nearly 3 kilometers long, forming a broad rectangle. Its average depth is about 20 meters. If you piled up all the material excavated from this ditch, its volume would be about 10 times that of the pyramid itself. For years, many assumed the trench was just a quarry for pyramid stone. On closer inspection, that doesn't hold. It's too narrow and deep for efficient mining. It doesn't match known Egyptian quarrying methods. And some sections are roofed by bedrock, which would have made extraction nearly impossible. Another idea is ritual, that the trench held spiritual significance as a gathering place for noble souls serving the deceased king, a notion supported by niches carved into its walls. Most scholars think this ritual use came later. In 2020, a different proposal gained attention. The trench may have been designed to collect and channel storm runoff. The location makes sense for seasonal flooding from nearby plains, and it could explain why the moat wasn't reused for burials until the climate dried. The trench itself contains compartments cut into rock and linked by tunnels, features that look like stages of filtration, with water clarifying as it moved from chamber to chamber. Here's where it ties back to construction. The Djoser complex includes deep shafts beneath the pyramid, and some argue that water from the trench could have powered a hydraulic elevator. Picture a central pit fitted with a massive wooden float or platform. When workers needed to raise a heavy block, they flooded the shaft. The rising water lifted the float and the stone, like a colossal water-powered lift. Once at the desired level, the block was slid into place, the water drained, and the platform descended for the next load. If true, this would have been an ingenious way to reduce brute labor and speed construction. Not everyone is convinced. Critics point out that local rainfall may not have supplied enough water to run such a system. A counter-proposal imagines a seasonal lake feeding the works, but no ancient texts mention it. Others note that building and operating a hydraulic lift might have required more total effort than hauling blocks with ramps. And Djoser's stones, averaging around 300 kilograms, were far smaller than the roughly 2-ton blocks used later at Khafra's pyramid. Hardly the best test case for a complex water machine. Even more astonishing, a second map drawn by Piri Reis in 1528 depicted parts of the northwestern Atlantic, including Greenland and Newfoundland, and remarkably, the Antarctic coast centuries before its official discovery. Although his depiction of Antarctica without ice was later shown to be symbolic rather than literal, the maps remain an extraordinary achievement of early global cartography. Jumping to Costa Rica, a discovery in 1930 added yet another riddle to archaeology: the mysterious stone spheres of the Diquis Valley. Ranging in size from a few centimeters to over 2 meters in diameter and weighing up to 16 tons, the spheres are astonishingly perfect. Carved by an unknown pre-Columbian civilization, their exact purpose remains unclear. Some archaeologists believe they symbolized celestial bodies or the sun and moon cycles, while others think they marked the homes or graves of tribal leaders. Most were shaped from granodiorite, a stone as hard as granite, and may have been crafted by heating and rapidly cooling the surface to chip away the outer layers. Another enigmatic object, the Baghdad Battery, discovered in Iraq in 1936, has long divided scholars. The artifact consists of a small clay jar containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod insulated with asphalt. When filled with an acidic liquid such as vinegar or wine, it produces a faint electrical charge, just like a primitive battery. Some believe it was used for electrotherapy or metal plating, while others dismiss it as coincidence. Yet no one has been able to explain its construction or purpose conclusively, leaving it one of archaeology's enduring mysteries. In 2011, archaeologists in South Africa discovered what may be the world's oldest art studio inside a cave. There they found shells coated with red ochre pigment, tools for grinding minerals, and evidence of paint production dating back 100,000 years. It was a prehistoric artist's workshop, a place where early humans experimented with color and creativity tens of millennia before recorded history. Even ancient calendars have secrets. The Maya calendar, famous for its complex time cycles, once baffled researchers with a mysterious number, 819 days, that appeared repeatedly in inscriptions. For years, no one could explain its significance. Recently, a team from Cambridge University cracked the code. They realized that the 8-19-day cycle wasn't meant to track days in the human sense, but rather to represent planetary alignments. When multiplied into a longer sequence, 20 cycles of 819 days, the pattern perfectly matches the synodic periods of all visible planets: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. In other words, the Maya had devised a cosmic timeline linking celestial motion to earthly time with extraordinary precision. The Maya were true masters of astronomy. Their pyramid at Chichen Itza in Mexico, for instance, creates the illusion of a serpent of sunlight slithering down its steps during the spring and autumn equinoxes, a spectacular interplay of architecture and astronomy. Other sites, like Tikal in Guatemala, were aligned to track the solstices, while El Caracol, nicknamed the Snail for its spiral staircase, served as an ancient observatory where priests monitored the sun, moon and planets with only the naked eye. Of course, not all great discoveries were deliberate. In 1998, electrical engineer John Williams stumbled upon what looked like an electrical plug embedded in solid granite in North America. He dubbed it Enigmalite and claimed it was evidence of ancient technology. While scientists remain skeptical, the find sparked debate about what qualifies as genuine archaeology versus coincidence. Some modern inventions also emerged from chance. Dr. John Kellogg, a health reformer, accidentally created cornflakes in 1898 while experimenting with baked grains for his patients. His brother, Will Kellogg, later refined the recipe into the breakfast cereal that launched a global empire. In the 1940s, Swiss engineer Georges de Mestral returned from a hike covered in burrs. Examining them under a microscope, he saw tiny hooks clinging to fabric fibers, an insight that inspired Velcro. Initially dismissed by the fashion industry, it found its purpose in NASA's spacesuits, securing tools and equipment in zero gravity. Even Play-Doh began as wallpaper cleaner. In the 1950s, a teacher discovered the soft material was perfect for children's modeling projects. Soon rebranded as a toy, it saved the Kutel company from bankruptcy and became a cultural icon. And sometimes extraordinary discoveries happen by accident. In Turkey, a man renovating his basement in 1963 broke through a wall and uncovered a tunnel leading to an entire underground city, Derinkuyu. Carved from volcanic rock, it had 18 levels, ventilation shafts, schools, stables, and even churches, once sheltering up to 20,000 people. Its engineering was so precise that no floors have ever collapsed. Finally, nature itself still surprises us. In Wisconsin, researchers using ultraviolet light discovered that flying squirrels glow pink under UV rays, a phenomenon never before observed in mammals. The glow might help them navigate at night or attract mates. From Mayan astronomy to hidden cities, from prehistoric painters to modern inventors inspired by nature, human history is a vast web of brilliance, mystery, and serendipity, proof that discovery often comes from curiosity, accident, and a spark of imagination.